Julius Caesar is dead. He was stabbed 23 times in the Senate itself by the Senate members who wanted to save Rome. But after this backfired and Rome went into chaos, which caused one figure to rise. And that guy was Octavian, better known as Augustus. So this video is about him today. So guys, without further ado, let's begin. Namaskar everyone, welcome back to another video on I Love History. My real name is Shreyansh Tiwari, and Augustus, this guy was the first Roman emperor, and some people would call him the greatest Roman emperor. So I'm going to explain to you his whole history, and you can decide that whether he was the greatest or he wasn't. So let's start. So Julius Caesar, if you don't know who he is, he was one of the most powerful Roman generals ever. He became a dictator later on, and that's why he was killed by his own people in the Senate, because he became too powerful, and they feared that Rome would become an empire, because Rome actually was a republic during Julius Caesar's time, and Augustus was the one who transformed it into an empire. So Julius Caesar, he was really powerful. He conquered Gaul, the region of France. I'll put it on the map over here. So Julius Caesar, he was really powerful. But after he died, then the Senate people thought that the normal people of Rome, they would treat them as heroes who saved Rome from becoming an empire. But the problem was that the people of Rome, they actually loved Caesar, or liked Caesar, because Caesar made many reforms and which benefited the people of Rome. So the people were unhappy. So those Senate people who killed Julius Caesar, those people, they included Brutus too, a guy who Julius Caesar trusted, and so they fled the city and went into hiding. So then, one of Julius Caesar's most trusted generals and friends, Mark Antony, he wanted power, and maybe he was sad, but he acted really sad that Julius Caesar had died, and now Mark Antony, he actually wanted all the power to himself now. He wanted to fill the gap of power left by Julius Caesar. But then comes the entry of Octavian. Octavian will later become Augustus. So he was born in 63 BCE, and after Julius Caesar's death, he was considered the successor because he was the adopted son of Julius Caesar. But he was, even before getting adopted, he was related to Julius Caesar, because Julius Caesar, I think he was his grand uncle or something. So he was the successor of Julius Caesar. And while Augustus, he wasn't powerful looking or energetic as Julius Caesar. He was more cool and calculative, and he wasn't physically really strong, and he looked like a cute innocent little boy, but he wasn't. So he was 18 when Julius Caesar died, and he saw that what Mark Antony was up to. So he started working against Mark Antony. He started bringing people to his side, but then he realized that Mark Antony was way too strong for now. So he decided to team up with Mark Antony. So Mark Antony, Octavian, and another guy, but let me check who it is, Lepidus, made the second triumvirate. So what was the triumvirate? Triumvirate was a group of 3 people who were the head of the Roman country. Before this, the first triumvirate was created by Julius Caesar, Pompey, and another guy. So now Augustus, he had teamed up with Mark Antony, and these guys now started to find the people who were involved in the Julius Caesar assassination. And they did find a few people. They killed a lot of people in this, which shows that Augustus could be brutal and cruel when needed. But he wasn't unnecessarily cruel that he killed civilians for no reason. even after they surrendered, like someone. Yeah, I'm talking about Temur. But alright, so let's get back to Augustus. So in 42 BCE, at the Battle of Philippi, the triumvirate faced Caesar's killers, who were Brutus, the same guy. Julius Caesar trusted him but betrayed him, and Cassius. So these guys, they died in that battle. So the triumvirate had avenged Julius Caesar now. But now there was a problem. They had a huge empire to manage, which like controlled all the Mediterranean except for Egypt for now. Mark Antony decided he would like rule the rich east part, which included like Anatolia, Greece, the Balkans, and while Augustus would control the west, which included Rome, that means Italy, and the modern day countries of France, Spain, Algeria, Tunisia. But and Lepidus, like the third member of the triumvirate, he was like not that influential or strong as these two, so he was sidelined. So now these two are the most powerful in Rome. So guess what happens? Of course, when there are two powerful people, they usually clash, and that's what happened. So Mark Antony, he was actually kinda a simp. Okay, I wouldn't call him that, but yeah, he did fall in love with Cleopatra, who was the queen and ruler of Egypt. So they married, and then he had like twins. He had twins born. So Augustus then saw this as an advantage and started like manipulating his people into and by saying things like, "Look, Mark Antony over there, he's having kids with the Queen of Egypt, and he might switch the capital from Rome to Alexandria, which is a city in Egypt. So if you don't support me more, then Mark Antony will switch the capital to Alexandria, and Rome will not be the most important city." So more and more people, they started like rallying around Augustus, started supporting him. Okay, he's not Augustus right now, he's Octavian right now. I keep forgetting that. So Octavian. So but then like Mark Antony came back to Rome and he married Octavian's sister, and like that's peace. But then guess what Mark Antony did? He returned to Egypt, and then Cleopatra's son with Julius Caesar. Yes, Cleopatra was married to Julius Caesar prior to this. But so she had like a son. So Mark Antony, he like gave that son the title of like Caesar, like it had Caesar in it and something ahead of it. I'll just put it over here. So that meant King of Kings. So that's directly a challenge to Octavian. Octavian had enough of this. He decided now he gotta invade and like teach these people a lesson. So he declared war on Cleopatra's Egypt. So he marched through his army, and then these guys had like a naval war in like Greece. So over there, Mark Antony and Cleopatra, they were present there, and they had a larger army than Octavian. But Octavian defeated them. Well, Octavian was actually in the battle, but his chief commander Marcus Vipsanius Agrippa was the one who actually did like most of the work, and he then defeated Cleopatra and Mark Antony. So Mark Antony and Cleopatra, they like decided after this. So that meant Augustus was the king now. Actually not the king, like he was the undisputable ruler of the Roman Republic. So this happened in 31 BC. Then Augustus, he started making reforms in like the army and everything. So before this, the Roman soldiers, they did not fight for their country, they fought for generals. And they were more loyal to their generals than their country. So Augustus changed this. He made it so the soldiers would be more patriotic, and like they would be of the nation, not of the generals. And he did many more reforms which made the people like him. And he also subdued rebellions in places like Spain, and like he consolidated his empire. And after like defeating Cleopatra, he also did like annex Egypt, and like areas like Anatolia where rebellions were going on, he subdued them. Then in 27 BCE, Octavian got like the title of Augustus by the Senate, and then he became the emperor of the Roman Empire. So Augustus, he continued doing what he was doing, like all of the reforms, all of like the subduing the rebellions, consolidating his empire, and he created such a system which lasted for 500 more years. The Roman Empire would last for 500 more years after this, and the Byzantine Empire, which you could say is an offshoot of the Roman Empire, lasted for 1,000 years more. So Augustus, he created a system. He was not only good in warfare, like he wasn't as good as Julius Caesar, but he was more of an administration guy, and it is said that he was pretty cool-minded and was hard to anger. And he was cold, calculative, cool with decisions and everything. And he created a personal bodyguard force as well to protect the emperors but later on these guards would get too powerful and kill whatever emperor they didn't like. The guards, which Augustus like made a special unit task force to like protect the emperor, they were called the Praetorian guards. But later on these guards would get powerful and like kill emperors which they didn't like Caligula, by the way. He's called an evil emperor of the Romans. He came later on, much later on after Augustus, but he wanted to make a horse his council, which was a pretty big post. So, separate video on him. Let's get back to Augustus. Oh yeah, so where were we? Oh yeah. So Augustus, he was pretty great. He consolidated power and everything, but a major setback happened. In the year 9, yeah, it's not BC anymore, but in 9 CE, there was this guy called Arminius, who was a general of the Roman Empire, but he actually acted like a spy, a breacher. He originally was from Germany. At that time, it wasn't called that, but yeah, that region, Germania. He came from there, and he didn't like the Romans capturing Germany because he thought that would destroy Germany's culture. So he came to the Roman Empire, became a general, learned their tricks and the whole system. And then he Augustus sent him and Varus, another general, to capture more lands of Germania. But Arminius he betrayed Varus, and he had his men hid in the forest. And using guerrilla tactics, Arminius slaughtered the whole army over there. There were 3 legions over there. Legions was like a section of an army of the Romans. And I think during Augustus' time, the Romans total had 25 legions. So 3 out of them, that's a pretty big deal. So after this, whatever the land Romans had captured, east of the Rhine River of Germania, those broke apart. And then after this, Augustus decided that he would not expand more, and he would rather consolidate the borders of the Roman Empire and create that as the fixed border. So the Rhine River and the Danube River, I'll put it on a map. So this would now become the border of the Roman Empire. And then in the year 14, Augustus peacefully died. So guys, this was the story of Augustus. I hope you learned something new from this. And was Octavian Augustus the greatest Roman emperor? If you think so, then comment down below. If you disagree, then also comment down below on why you disagree. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something new. So bye bye. Have a nice day. Shreyansh Tiwari out.